All right, today's date is Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. My name is Eric Thompson, and I'm interviewing Curtis Rayam as part of research with the University of Central Florida Riches Project in cooperation with the City of Orlando's Parramore Speaks Project. This interview is being conducted at the Melrose Center at the Orlando Public Library in Orlando, Florida. And Mr. Rayam has agreed to allow this interview to be recorded. First, could you start off by telling us your full name?
Curtis Joshua Rayam Jr.
All right, and can you tell us about your childhood and where you grew up?
Well, I was born in 1951, February 4th, 1951, in a farming area called Belleville, Florida, in Hamilton County, Florida, up near the Georgia line.
And when did you and your family first arrive in Orlando?
We came to Orlando in 1958 to stay. That is to say that we have been to Orlando on several occasions. My parents were divided about either being city dwellers or farming people. So my mother won out in 1958 because she was very, very interested in her children getting a better education than she did. So we moved to Orlando finally in 1958.
And why did they come here? Just for education?
Education, employment, of course. I mean, we had our farming, but they were looking for a new experience. They both had been farmers all of their lives, and especially my mother. My mother had wanted to be a whack, and because her father was burned badly in a tobacco barn burning, and she and her two older siblings had to stay home and help their mother gather the crops. So her out was to get married, she told me. And then from marriage, it brought her on to Orlando, Florida.
And when you came to Orlando, where in Orlando did you live?
I first remember living as a little boy on Green Street, which really doesn't, I don't think it's in existence anymore. It's near the Callahan Center. And then from Green Street, we lived at the corner of Washington, right behind which was Callahan, which had been the old Jones High School.
And you mentioned a little bit the farming history. Once they came to Orlando, what did your parents do for a living?
Well, my mother became a maid. She worked in the old San Juan Hotel down here on Orange Avenue. And my father picked oranges and later became a fruit loader and then went on to move houses with Sandroni Company and all.
And did you have any siblings?
I certainly do. One sister who has passed, my sister Linda, and 4 brothers, my brother Hardy, my brother Lenoris Rem, who has passed, and my brother Alfred Earl, who has passed, and my brother Thomas, who is still alive. And we do have a brother also we call Tootie, but his name is Alfonso. It's my father's son. He's actually the oldest.
And what sort of memories do you have of your family and childhood that really stick out to you?
Oh my God, going fishing when we lived on the farm, going fishing with my grandmother, playing with my cousins. There were so many cousins, we did not have to make friends with anybody else. Just that country life, going from one church to another, going down to my mother's house in the evenings on Sundays, and all the ladies in that evening would walk down in the fields, and the children couldn't follow them. So, but as they came back singing, we would go to our respective parents and bring them back. I never knew what that was about, but it reminds me of something of an African tradition where the women got together and probably talked about each other's families, husbands, and children, and got advice from their mother. But it was Sunday evenings and Easter programs and saying your Easter speech and all of those good things.
And you mentioned singing, so let's talk about that. Your career is very unique. Can you tell us what you do for a career?
I was an opera singer, concert singer. I started in the church, of course. I have to go way back to the country again. My whole family sings. My father used to sing with his brothers and cousins. They were called the Belleville Jubileers. And my mother sang with her sisters, and they were called the Amazons. They were tall, pretty women who had beautiful voices. So all of my siblings sing. I'm the only one that decided to make a living out of it. So it's part of our DNA. So when I go home for family reunion now, everybody's singing, so it's nothing unique.
And you mentioned it a little bit, but what type of education did you have?
Of course, I had my elementary school education at Callahan, and it's at Callahan that Mrs. Masie Crosby discovered my voice. We used to have what was called chapel, a devotion, and according to her, excuse me, according to her, she heard this voice. So she did a series of elimination until she got to me. And she said, well, here you are. And she told me what I had. It was, nothing to me because we did it at home. She said, I always wanted to sing. She said, but you could sing, you could go around the world and sing for me. Okay, all right, go around the world. I love National Geographic magazine. So I'd seen other places in this magazine. And so my mind, my imagination took over. And one thing led to another, going to Mount Olive AME Church, then to Jones High, school being discovered from one director to another director and on to the University of Miami on scholarship.
And what was your favorite subject in school? Was it music?
Music, drama, French, history. Least favorite, mathematics. Ran away from physics and calculus. Still get the shivers when I think about it.
And you mentioned Jones High School. Can you tell us about the school, what it was like when you were there?
Well, Jones High was my lord. It was junior high and senior high. I had never seen so many people in my life when I was in 7th grade. I've been told by church members who were teachers or retired folk, he said, oh, when you get to Jones High, make sure you take Latin. So when I got there, Mrs. Brayboy, who was the Latin teacher, retired. So there was no Latin. I met Miss Queenie, what was Miss Queenie's last name? She was the French teacher. She heard me talking. And she said, hello, little boy, come here. She said, what's your name? I said, I'm Curtis Rayam. She said, now in 9th grade, I want you to sign up for French. Powell was her last name. It's Queenie Powell. I said, okay. So when I got to 9th grade, she had retired. But I followed her instructions and I signed up for French. And it's been a love affair ever since. So I took French in high school, French in college, of course, and studied in France later on after college.
You mentioned a few of your teachers, the French teacher and some of your music teachers, but are there any teachers that stand out in particular as influential or memorable?
Well, my Lord, they were all advice givers. They were all transplanted mothers and fathers. Mrs. Crosby, I spoke to you about. Mrs. Polope, who taught me the Lord's Prayer, Miss Alma Polope, that was back in Callahan. But at Jones High, it was Miss Augusta Rogers, who encouraged me to make sure I go and sing for the choir directors. Mr. Roderick Rockhill Williams, then Miss Roberta Manuels, Mr. Norman Choice, and then came Mrs. Edna Hargret Thrower, the one that took me over and got me ready for university and the world. She had, and that was the time that I was coming down to the library, to Orlando Library, when it was first built, and she introduced us to opera, to oratorio, to Broadway musicals, gospel, of course, the sacred music of the church, and spirituals. So she prepared me for the University of Miami. But Mrs. Hargret, we'll call her Mama Hargret, was the one that really put the fire up under me.
And what did you want to be when you grew up? Was it always singing?
I always wanted to be a singer. First, I thought to be a ballad singer, and then I found out about the Broadway musical. Then I saw my first opera here in Orlando, which was Puccini's Tosca, with Gabriele Tucci and Placido Domingo. And I thought it was nice, you know, okay, la la la. But the next year, we came to see Charles Gounod's Faust. That did the clincher. A young Beverly Sills, Placido Domingo, Dominic Cosa, Kay Creed, and the Florida Symphony Orchestra with Henry Mason. Henry Mason, and then Herman Hertz was the conductor after him. Well, that did the clincher. When I saw Beverly Sills rise into the heavens, I said, I want to make that magic. That's the magic I want to make. So I fell in love with opera on the spot.
And I doubt most folks are familiar with the career pathway of an opera singer. Can you tell us a little bit about what that journey is like?
Ooh, it can be helter-skelter, not necessarily designed, although some people are. I have a designed money trail, marketing scheme. Mine was by the good Lord and good people who heard me and propelled me from one thing to another. The basic thing was to be prepared, to learn all the different genres, to familiarize yourself with French opera, German opera, Italian opera, American opera, and on and on and on. To have a chance also before you are discovered, to say, to have those chances to get up on your feet and practice the art of the opera, singing opera. So in University of Miami, we had the opera workshop, and Miami was a very good market. I didn't realize, but I knew it was bigger than several other places that I considered. But Miami, of course, had the Miami Opera. You had several symphony orchestras around, and of course the opera workshop at University of Miami. And my teacher, Mary Henderson Buckley, and my other teacher, Dorothy Ziegler, and Emerson Buckley. And all of these people gave us chances to sing in the chorus, to be around the international stars, Placido Domingo again, Montserrat Caballé, Leontine Price, Fiorella Casotto, and on and on and on and on and on. And so you got a chance to hobnob and to see these people really practice their art and to talk to them and get advice from them and to get to know them and get their address, phone number. So when you went to New York, you could call them and say, I'm going to bug you to death. But yeah, being prepared, hopefully when you're in that right place, to step out and do that thing that you would like to do. And it has been I must say, a blessed blessed journey for me.
And you mentioned growing up that there was a lot of singing in the house and fishing. What other sorts of things did you do in your spare time?
Well, the other side of that is athletics. My father was, my Lord, Sunday afternoons was baseball. My father could play baseball like crazy. And my mother was a fabulous basketball player, they say. I never saw her play basketball. But my brothers and my sister, they not only played in the band and sang in choir, but my brother Hardy played football and went to Notre Dame on a scholarship back in 72, I do believe. And my brother Thomas went to the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa and went on to the pros with the Redskins and then the Bengals and then Canadian ball. But the others, although they sang, became accountants and mass communication majors and book writers and poem writers and all of that, poets and all.
We'll change gears a little bit and looking at the community once you're here in Orlando.
Yeah.
What sorts of businesses existed in the neighborhood when you were younger?
Lord, Mrs. Georgia Wallace had a fabulous boarding house, and she was quite the socialite. I remember she invited our family to go to the New Jones High to hear the Don Drills of Chicago. And I think for the first time, I recognized classical music. There was a pianist, there was a cellist, there was a singer, of course, singing what my father designs as tweet, tweet bird music. Coloratura, ha 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 ha. And they laughed and picked at that for some times, but I knew it was different from that music that I heard back in the country, the gospel and the spirituals and the hymns, and even the music that I had heard also in Orlando. So that was in the back burner. I didn't act upon it, but Mrs. Wallace was very, very, very innovative in introducing my family to another side of the coin.
Thinking outside of your family, what type of work did the people who lived in the community do?
Yeah, well, you had your teachers, you had your preachers, you had your first black policeman, Policeman Jones. Yes, you had nurses, Mercedes Clark. You had your cooks, you had your janitorial types, you had your doctors, Dr. Skank, Dr. Smith, who was my doctor. You had Lawyer Perkins, who was our lawyer, and his wife was my third grade teacher at Callahan. You had almost every kind of employment in the neighborhood. Secretaries, Pamela Woodley's mother. Mrs. Woodley was quite the secretary and quite the pace. You had your seamstress, Louise McDonald, my cousin. You had your cooks, like I said. You had some of store owners. Yes, you had the neighborhood stores. Mr. Wright, who was my cousin. And Hardy Wright. Oh yeah. And you had your orange pickers, and you had your day laborers, and the whole mixed of all.
When you look at the community now, how has business and entrepreneurship changed over time in Parramore?
Well, I've seen a lot of places that have closed down. Like, for instance, at the corner of Jackson, it was the Jackson Street and Parramore, you had the Pyramid Cleaners, owned by the Marksbys. And that's not there anymore. You have the funeral homes. Well, you still have those, fortunately or unfortunately. They still exist, but have changed hands. You have gas stations. You have your taxi services. Not about the same, but not of the same magnitude as it was when I was a child. There used to be the Carver Theater and the Lincoln Theater. That does not exist anymore. You have a soccer field there now, and barber shops and all kind of clothing places. They don't exist anymore.
What does the absence of those businesses do to the community?
Well, for one thing, it takes out an identity, especially to for the young people that are coming behind us, and we tell them about them. You know, there are pictures here and there about that. I think that's what the Callahan Center is all about, to preserve some of that legacy, so that our generations that are coming behind us will know that they had people who were entrepreneurs of good standings, and you have the ones that were not so great either. But you know, it takes everything and everybody to make up a community.
Before we got started, I told you that I was going to give you an activity. It's
Yes.
time for that. So this is a map of downtown Orlando,
Okay.
and I want you to draw on the map using any of the markers of your choice.
Okay.
Define on the map Parramore. What is Parramore as an area?
Just Jackson Street. Where's the red one? Jackson. Robinson. Downtown. I don't have on my best glasses today. South Street. Well, that's like we're on a dune. Amelia, Livingston, yes. Orange Blossom Trail, Livingston. You know, I see nothing saying Parramore.
Right, I've removed the place names. So if you
I see.
if you just draw a box or lines around whatever you consider to be Parramore,
I gotcha.
and it should still have street names to help you be
Yeah, I
oriented.
see. You know, in those days, you could only go as far as your mother and father would let you go. Okay, there we are. I used to walk Miss Penny over to, almost to Division Street. There was a lady who sold the Pittsburgh Courier, which was one of the last black newspapers, national newspapers. And we would walk up Parramore to, what was that street? Almost to Anderson Street. But she walked very slowly. And we would talk all the way, and she'd tell me all kind of good things about the past. And we'd stay and talk for a while and eat some sweet potato pie, and turn around and walk back home to Jefferson Street. That was Parramore.
And so thinking about the community of Parramore, what sort of challenges have you seen Parramore face over the years?
Well, I see a lot of homelessness now, and buildings that are still, I say, still holding on, that were new buildings when I was a child, which means the money that used to be there, is not there anymore to repair them, to attract a commodity of people to be there. But you have a lot of homeless people living in the area now.
And thinking on some of the challenges, are there or were there any local organizations or networks that stick out to you as helpful in some of those challenges?
For the homelessness, well, your churches did at times. Churches, you had your churches, you had your sororities, you still have your sororities. You had, I would say mainly churches and mainly families. There was more of a mental health care and facilities that were targeted to help the homeless and mentally ill. Nowadays, I know that they're not there as they used to be. The same type of care is not taken seriously as they once did.
You mentioned that churches played a big role in some of those community support networks. Are there any churches in particular that stick out as important to the community?
Oh, Mount Olive AME Church, St. Mark AME Church, Shiloh Baptist Church, oh Lord have mercy, Ebenezer CME Church, to tell you, New Bethel, every church basically in the community was there. Mount Pleasant Baptist Church, yes, during those days, yes, oh yes. They really had a stronghold when it came to helping people in trouble.
And you mentioned gospel singing, obviously, with your background. What was your family or personal involvement in some of these church communities?
Well, we belonged to, when we first came to Orlando, we belonged to St. Mark AME Church. My mother sang in the choir, my father sang in the choir. And then we moved cross town to the Parramore area, actually, and Jefferson Street, and we all belonged to Mount Olive AME Church. We sang in the choir. My mother and father, sister, we all came through the choir, one way or another. Yeah.
And thinking in the community, what role did women in particular play in supporting the community?
They supported their men. No, the women of the community were backbones. They were entrepreneurs. A lot of times you found that the women had more education as compared to the men, and they were very vocal and making changes come to the community. So yeah, the women were very, very, very strong, very strong.
And thinking back to these networks in community, are there particular individuals who stick out to you as important to either your or the community's past in the community?
Well, I've mentioned one, Miss Georgia Wallace, Miss Mercedes Clark, Mrs. Hargret, Mrs. Jessie B. Demps Smith. She was my godmother, also a teacher. She was one of the first certified teachers in Orange County to do special education. She was over the Magnolia School for kids with special needs. And I worked with her, with the kids on Fridays. We had an organization called the Night Crawlers, where we would assemble all the kids who were mentally disturbed, or in those days called them retarded. But to give them some sense of normalcy, we would have a big meeting and dance and eating and what have you. I think it was every other Friday night here at the Magnolia School. So yeah, it gave me another alternative to work with mentally disturbed children, which I did do. I worked with the when I was in school in Miami, University of Miami. I worked at the what's the name of the place? You get me out of it was in Coral Gables. Well, anyway, I worked with mentally disturbed children, and I was offered a scholarship to get my master's in child psychology, but Broadway called to do Tribunissa. So that's what I wanted to do more so. Yeah. Variety Children's Hospital, that was the name of it.
We've both used the word a lot. What does the word community mean to you?
Community means the people that are in your vicinity, the people that you talk to, you check on, you fuss and fight with sometimes, but they have your back and you have their back. Family.
We'll look a little bigger picture.
Yes.
How has Parramore changed over time?
Well, it doesn't have the warmth that I remember it having. It doesn't feel as inviting as it did one time. My mother would send all of us to the barbershop, my sister too, because after we got our haircuts on Saturday, we spent the rest of the day in the Carver Theater. Because it had air conditioning, one thing. And we didn't have air conditioning at all. And it gave my mother a little breather. We felt pretty safe, pretty safe.
What challenges does Parramore face today?
I don't live there, but I think renewal, making it safe, keeping the historical emphasis in front of it, and making it inviting. Now, all of that calls for money, as we know. So, the community of Orlando and the community of Florida need to come together, and let's see what we can do in renovating not only that Parramore, but the Parramores from city to city.
And what is the legacy of Parramore?
The legacy of Parramore. Well, for me as a child, speaking from a child's standpoint, we felt a sense of community. We felt safe. You had, in that community, you had your teachers and your preachers and your professionals living right next door to your day laborers, your common laborers, your maids. And everybody was your mother and your father and your sister and your brother. Other than that, that's what I know, yes.
You mentioned it a little bit, but what can people who don't live in Parramore do as individuals to support Parramore?
People who do not live in Parramore, well, you could ask for their aid, you could ask for their help, ask for their advice on how to restore it. More than that, you can't really expect much more than that. But their cooperation, yes, definitely.
And what does Parramore mean to you?
It means that it's still there. But the only thing that I don't like is that the street of Parramore is occupied by part of the soccer field. I remember when I went down there to go through Parramore, I was like, oh my God, I can't drive through. I know progress is progress and things do change. So yeah, that's what Parramore means to me. I can't drive all the way through.
Those are the main questions I wanted to ask, but
Okay.
we'll give it to you now. What else didn't we talk about that you want to?
Well, let's see. I don't know. I didn't mention Chief Wilson, Chief James Wilson, who was the music man at Jones High School. I came to learn a lot about him, even more after he passed, on how he and when they went to the New York World's Fair in 1964, he and the band director from Edgewater were very good friends, and I do not remember his name, but very good friends. They collaborated together even before integration, and they spoke up for each other, and they both went to New York for that fair. And I didn't realize that it had gone down like that because I was a child. I knew it happened, but Chief Wilson used to give everybody advice. And he was very, 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 very instrumental and very dear to me. And that, you know, when I would come home from school, from university, he'd come over and talk, and just to see what I was doing, and just to give me some more advice and to keep me encouraged to keep on going, and if you need anything, boy, give me a call. But he was very proud to say that under his watch he was able to produce a world-class opera singer named Curtis Rayam, and that he was humbled by that. I never thought about it like that, but I'm sure kids in my position now are not thinking about things that I give to them like that, but they'll be in this spot one day and will remember. Yeah, but he also he trained the people who trained me, namely Mrs. Argret. So, yeah, oh yes.
Well, if there's nothing else, thank you very much for your time, and we really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.